And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Friday edition of the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. Hope you're having a great weekend. Started just tonight. You made it. You're officially there, and life is good. So enjoy yourselves, kick back, get a beverage, relax, and we'll have a fantastic show right ahead of you right here on the portal. So before I go any further, please let me introduce my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
Sorry about that.
Just
Um, Death metal turtlenecks. It's the new thing.
okay. I have no idea what the hell that means, but
Check
we'll
it out.
we'll, we'll go with that. How you doing, Don?
Doing good, doing good. It's been a long day, but here I is, and we will see how it goes.
You will see how it goes. Oh, it's going to go just fine because this is the portal, and
The
it
portal goes
has to.
perfectly.
It always goes just perfectly, doesn't it, Don?
Yeah.
As if we plan it this way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's always
It's
fun.
it's off to a fine start tonight, which is good. We do have an incredibly special guest here tonight, which I'm very excited to
Yes.
bring to you guys.
Yes.
This is a topic area that I have tried desperately to research, tried desperately to find
Can't believe
information,
it.
tried desperately to find encounters, and failed miserably at all of them. I mean, you can find pieces and parts, but it just takes so much legwork, so much effort to get in, to get into the meat of this subject, and very few people can do it. But I am thrilled that I've found one of those people, and she is here with us tonight on the portal. And her name, of course, is Robyn Moonshadow. Welcome to the show, Robyn.
Woohoo! Hi.
Hello, yeah. Nice to be here.
Well, it's wonderful to have you. Sorry, I had you turned down a little bit there, but
Oh, there she
I
is.
cranked you back up. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you both?
Oh, we're wonderful.
Doing
And
well.
we are thrilled to have you with us, and thank you so much for coming in tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the call-in number will work tonight, and we will do our best to keep an eye on that for you so that we will know if you're calling in. But feel free if you have a question. I don't know if we already have a person calling in or not, but I don't. We haven't even started talking, and there's a call on the board. I just got to see what this is. So, Robyn, can you hold on a second? And I'm gonna.
I sure can.
What's that?
Yep.
I sure can.
Okay, just a sec. We'll see what's going on here. Area code 619. You're on the air. What's going on?
Oh, hi. Am I on the air?
You are on the air. This is the Paranormal Portal, and I'm Brent Thomas.
Oh
And
my goodness. That's so funny. I saw that Chris and Cherie Gia were on, so I was calling in to tell them a story that related to theirs. So
oh,
here
okay.
I'm on the wrong show, but
Or is it the
but I
right show?
commend you.
Oh, yeah.
I had an amazing experience that I wanted to share with them. They said, "Oh, just call in," and
Oh,
Yeah.
so
I'm
Yeah.
sorry
I'm
about
out of
that.
space and time.
That's all right, but
But
it's a pleasure talking to you.
hopefully I will. Yeah, well, thank you, and continue with your beautiful show, and I'll
Oh,
let you
thank you.
go, and hopefully we can connect this and it'll turn into something synchronistic.
There
Okay,
you
it
go.
sounds wonderful.
Ah,
Thanks for calling, and have a
all,
great night.
all right, thank you.
See you
Okay,
now.
all right, bye.
All right, so there you have it. It was a leftover call for Chris and Shree, but very cool. It's always nice to talk to listeners, even if they're not necessarily listeners of the show. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, and tonight we're going to be discussing little people and proto-pygmies. And as I was saying, the
Don't talk to
call-in,
me like that.
you're not little, Don. You're big in my heart.
Oh boy.
But the call-in number does work, ladies and gentlemen, and the call-in number is 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998, rather. And if that doesn't work for you, you can call 833-TFR Live. If you're calling from the UK, the call-in number is 44203-393-2871. Again, 44203-393-2871. And of course, as far as the little people are concerned, that's kind of where I became familiar with this is just from the UK and the lore over there, Robyn. But how did this journey start for you?
Oh, well, well over a year ago now, I had gotten an email when I was writing for the Curious 14, and it was from someone named David, and he said, "Have you heard of the little people in the Arctic?" And
Mhm.
that's all the email said. And I had, but I hadn't researched them at that point. So I went ahead and started, and that's how this got started.
Wow.
Because when you start looking at one, others come up.
There's so many of them too. That's what I think
Oh,
really shocked me about all of it was that there are little people reports all around the globe, and even these disparate societies that never had contact with each other, they all have their legends and lores and encounters with these little diminutive people, and
that's right.
so that lends it a lot of
That's
credibility, I would think, right?
it does.
Hmm.
Because Native Americans and First Nations, as you know, didn't have any contact with Europeans,
Hmm.
for thousands of years.
Right, and
They
yet,
have their own business. Yeah.
right, and there's even quite a diversity of the types of little people out there, and do you have like a ballpark number of how many have you learned about, how many different types?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, let's see. Shall we start with how many there are or the different types? I
Oh,
could do both.
please do, please do.
Okay. We have 6 in Canada,
Hmm.
30 in America, 3 in Mexico, 4 in Africa, 1, possibly 2 in the Philippines, 1 in Greece that is not a fawn or a pan.
Oh.
Wow.
We have 2 in Germany, 5 in Asia, more than 50 in the UK, of course, and we have the 1 in Hawaii and 1 in New Zealand.
Wow.
So there's one on just about every continent.
That is amazing. Now, what continent haven't you heard of one being on there? Which
Easter
continents?
Island.
Easter.
Madagascar.
That's the only place I haven't heard of them being.
Wow. So they're really everywhere.
Yes.
Now,
Now, to get into the types of proto-pygmies, I mean, we have the hairy little ones.
hmm,
There are the troll-like ones that are like the puckwudgies and the trolls themselves, of course, because they look a lot alike. So I put them into that category.
hmm.
And then we have the dwarves. We have the little native-looking ones, but like I said, for a lack of a better word, I call them proto-Indians
Okay.
because they look like mini Indians or First Nations, American natives. And then we have gnomes, which is a very diverse family. And then we have goblins, and they're, lanky, skinny things and come in different colors.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. Now, dude, now you had mentioned that hairy and some are troll-like, but there are some that look like miniature versions of us. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Wow.
The yes.
So do they? And I don't know if it's possible to answer this or not, but do they have a shared ancestry with us? Is that what happened? Is that somewhere this just branched off and they just kept getting smaller and smaller, or how?
I believe, yeah, I believe so. It's just another example of human diversity where we change to the environment so we can survive no matter how our, like, people might get taller, people might get shorter,
Mm,
and it's not always a case of island dwarfism.
okay.
Okay.
No, that brings up an interesting point, and this is something I was wondering about as you were talking. Now I know in biology there's a term, and I can't remember the exact term, but essentially it goes that the closer you move to the equator, the smaller species of an animal will be, and in contrast, the further away from the equator, the bigger they become. And one such example in the paranormal realm is the Sasquatch, of course, where you got like the skunk apes, and over in Indonesia, another branch of that same family tree is like the orang pendek, which is basically little people. Was almost exactly what that name translates to. But then as you move north, You get into, the skunk ape again in Florida is a little bigger, but that's, it's quite a ways from the equator. And north more, you get into the grassman, and that's Ohio. But you get the boogers in the south, which are usually around 8 feet tall. But then as you get up into Minnesota, Washington, Canada, into Alaska, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. Do you think that these beings had pretty much evolved around an equatorial line and then started splintering out, or where did they start?
Well, when natives first came here,
Mm-hmm.
they were already here.
Oh, okay.
That's a common link, just like the giants were
Mhm.
already here when they got here.
Okay.
Giants.
Right, and that's that, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have Robyn back on, and we're gonna do a show about giants as well, because
nice.
in her research, and you can probably fill in the blanks better than I can, but you kept talking about the correlations that come up in this, and can you explain that?
Oh yeah, when you start searching little people, going way far back before first settlers came here, there are stories about giants and little people and connecting to each other, like with the Pukwudgies. Like the Pukwudgies in the song of Hiawatha killed the giant
Mm.
Kosing.
Right,
And they are also said to killed Mashar.
and that's the
So they
offspring.
are always connected some way.
Right, so they're they're just intermingled in there, and oh shoot, what was I going to say? I was going to talk about now. One of those was the god, basically revered as a god, and the other one was his kids. Is that right? Or did
Yes, Mosop. And
it? Okay.
now here's the funny thing with that is Mashop the giant, he was just loved by the people.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pukwudgies were jealous
Oh.
of this kind of love, and they started misbehaving, and the people got sick of it and went to talk to Moshop's wife, who was a little person, but not a Pukwudgie.
Hmm. And that's what started the feud.
Yeah, and that's what started it. Now, as much as Moshop was loved, he had a tendency to be lazy from time to time. So he sent his 3 sons to take care of them. And the Pukwudgies, in some stories, killed his 3 sons.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And the 2 of them, Squint, that's the little person,
Mm-hmm.
Moshop's wife. So she and Moshop went and took care of the Pukwudgies, and he shook them all around and threw them all over, and that's how we get them here and down here in the Great Lakes too, the Pukwudgies, because he's giant. They'd be like baseballs, so he'd thrown them all around and whatnot, and some of them came back.
Oh.
So he's like, oh, I took care of them, and he went off to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, they came back, and they were worse than ever, because now they were kidnapping people.
Mm-hmm.
And driving them into the forest and killing them.
Hmm.
So the people went back to Squint and said, help us again. So the little people said, well, he's going to come and get us. Let's take care of him. So they got him trapped in the water, and they killed him with their poison arrows.
Oh, brutal. That's horrible.
Wow, that sounds kind of like the water and being killed and stuff like that. I wonder if that has any correlation with the Orion mythos.
What is it?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What has that done? Could
Yeah.
you flesh that out?
Basically, Osiris was ripped apart and then thrown into the ocean, and what was his wife's name? She became pregnant from the sea foam that came up afterwards and had Horus. Or yes, that's correct. So, I mean, and that was the birth of that particular line. So, I mean, it's a correlation that just free associated. I can't help it.
Well, no, that is interesting though, because it's a common themality or theme in that, and that's what's interesting with these folklores, is that a lot of these tales repeat as well. So like there's disparate peoples having these experiences with little people, and there's correlations in their lore
Right.
to explain them, and that's what's really interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing
Oh,
how they
and- yeah.
connect. Yeah.
And water is a great conduit.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it sure is, and we hear about that all the time when we're dealing with spiritual stuff. Is that water, of course, is an amazing conduit for spiritual activity and energies, and apparently motion, and it's kind of odd because sometimes it's a barrier to spiritual energy, and then sometimes it's a conduit of
Yeah.
spiritual energy. So it's very strange.
Notre Dame would use a bowl of water
With ink.
to see
Yep.
into the future.
Yep.
Hmm. For his scrying, yeah.
Yeah.
He'd also load up on nutmeg before, but
Yeah.
who knows?
But he's never he's recognized for
Yeah.
his psychic abilities, but he is one of the ones that did help uh, cure the plague at that time.
That is true. Yeah, he was a plague
It's
doctor.
like, be clean and do this and do that, and you'll be fine. And
Mm.
this miasma thing is garbage, and stop using it. It's going to make you worse.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. That's very interesting. I had never heard that.
Yeah.
That he was a plague doctor as well. Wow.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I did not
Oh.
know.
Yeah, I think he lost his first wife
Yes.
to the plague. I think it was,
Right.
and a daughter maybe.
Oh dear. Yeah, I think I heard that he lost people from it, but I guess I hadn't realized he was a plague doctor. So that's very interesting. But yeah, now with these little people, some of them are benevolent. What would be some races that would be considered benevolent?
Oh, several of them are benevolent,
Mm-hmm.
or they just want to be left alone.
Okay.
Like, let's see now, the Cherokee little people. There are 3 groups of them, and one of them is very benevolent. They love the people, and they help shape young boys into, great warriors or great leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And they also help medicine people by teaching them the ways, and they start them young.
Oh, okay.
And most of these little people are still seen today.
Then that's what I find so interesting. So it's not just an issue of legend and lore. These encounters are still happening today, and people are witnessing them. That to me is just profound as hell, and I think that I love the idea, and I've said it many times on the show, that reality is so incredibly diverse, and the nature of reality is something that we're only beginning to get an inkling of, and that it's so much bigger than what we believe. And therefore I have room in my belief system for these other realities or other ideas to be present, or at least possible. But people are witnessing these things now. Is it normally of course, Pukwudgies comes up a lot in research when I looked into it, and there doesn't ever seem to be many positive experiences with them.
No.
No.
No. They set out to hurt people. They do not like us.
Mm-hmm.
And they will trap you. They will trick you. I got a report about a tall Pukwudgie, which I thought was kind of strange because, the tallest Pukwudgie I've heard of was only 3 feet, and that's pretty big, but we're talking like 6 feet. And I'm like, that can't be a Pukwudgie. But as I went on to hear the rest of the story, they were in like this funky little trench coat, and it was calling out to the guy, and it was like, help me, Joe. Help me, Joe.
Really?
And they knew the man's name.
Wow.
Oh, that's creepy.
And oh yeah, it's very creepy. And of course, most little people can talk in our language, and they have their own. But with Pukwudgies, nobody knows what they do with you when they catch you, only that it's a trap and it's a trick.
Wow.
And you are to beware, because they watch you and they watch your patterns. Because for some reason they set out to get you.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, tall pukwudgie, like I said, they don't come any more than 3 feet. But from what I understand is they will ride on each other's shoulders to appear like us,
That's amazing.
Wow.
like little fetishes, little tricksters.
And that's exactly what came to my mind when you explained it as 6 feet. Now you said it was wearing some kind of coat, like
Yeah,
some garb. So yeah,
like a trench coat or an overcoat. Yeah, even with rubber boots.
so that's what jumped in my head right away is that they were like doing the proverbial standing on the shoulders to appear bigger.
Wow.
And this is somewhat new behavior, and it's been going on for 10 or 20 years.
Wow. And so
Like I said,
they're
they
evolving.
purposely set out to get us.
Yeah. Wow. Now, could you explain to people listening what a pukwudgie would look like? What would they see if they bumped into one?
A pukwudgie is about 3 feet tall. They have gray skin. They are very troll-like. They have a pot belly. They
Uh-huh.
have large hands. Sometimes they're bald. Sometimes they have wispy hair.
Okay.
And they do carry a bow and arrow from time to time, but usually it's a club,
Huh.
Oh.
which kind of goes along with the legends of Kosing, because they had bows and arrows and clubs when they took that giant down in the Song of Hiawatha. Like, these guys are smart, like devious smart.
Mm-hmm.
With that giant Kosing, he was very strong, and the Pukwudgies were afraid of him.
Sure.
And they found out that he was allergic to pine nuts.
Oh.
So they all went out and they gathered pine nuts, and they, like I said, they watched his behavior, and he would go fishing or canoeing at a certain time every week. So they put all these pine nuts in that water, and they started throwing some down on him. And when he started falling asleep from his allergy, or maybe even dying, I don't know how bad his allergy was, but I'm assuming it was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
They started beating him in the head with their clubs and firing arrows at them, which are poison.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yes, there's another giant they killed.
So
These little guys, you can't conjure them. They don't possess you, like I've seen in a certain show, which was just garbage. Really, if they could do that, why wouldn't they have just did that to the giant and made them leap to their death?
right. Yeah, exactly. That's very true.
So, yeah. So yeah, these little guys are dangerous, and they are still seen today.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of stories. Of course, the most popular one was a woman named Joan, and she was walking her dog in the forest,
Mm-hmm.
and her dog, just got a little bit ahead of her on the leash, and her dog yipped. And when she went to see what the dog yipped about, she saw Pukwudgie standing there, and her dog laying flat in the grass.
Oh.
And they just kind of stared at each other for a moment.
Wow.
And when the dog jumped up, the dog took Joan with him. But as far as I know, she doesn't go for walks in that area anymore.
Yeah, that'd be horrid. And
Crazy.
there's a show that I had watched quite some time ago that had kind of a similar theme to it, and basically what was going on was the guy was out walking his dog, and it was night. He said it was kind of a foggy night, and he was walking along with his, I don't know if it was a little boxer or pug or something, some little dog I remember, and he was walking along, and he was on this kind of park path that kind of bumps up next to the wilderness, and as he got to that area, he said this little figure came out from the fog and started saying, "Mir, Mir,
Mirror.
Mir," and like it was saying, "Come here," like
Yeah,
"Mir."
come here, come here. Yeah.
And he was hearing it say "Mir," and he said he looked at it and it just looked just angry, and it kind of hid itself, like looking down and "Mir," and making hand gestures. And he said, of course, he took off back to
Like
his home.
Come here,
Yeah, exactly. But it was like, is that a pukwudgie then? Would that be consistent with their behavior? And it sounds like it.
Yeah, that sounds like a Pukwudgie. Yeah.
Oh, that's horrid.
I
Absolutely horrid.
have another story about the man and the husband and the wife
Okay.
were coming back from visiting their friends, and they got a flat tire.
Can you hold on to that
And
story? We're about
I can.
a minute out of break, and so We're going to head to
Okay.
our first break, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we're joined tonight by Robyn Moonshadow, and we are talking about little people and proto-pygmies. But we got a great lineup all this month. We've had Deb Varner on, now Robyn tonight, and tomorrow night we're joined by Brooks Agnew here on the portal. It's just an exciting time
Oh God,
to be
it's
here.
a weird month. Wow.
It's weird, like cool weird though. You know, it's like getting all these amazing people under 1 month is just amazing. And next week or the weekend after this one, of course, we'll be joined by Jim Bear King, one of the original Bigfoot outlaws. He'll be on the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back for more of the portal with Robyn Moonshadow. Stand by.
Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal second half hour of the show. Hope you guys are enjoying the journey tonight. I know I am. And, of course, I'm joined as well by my good friend and co-host, as always, Mr. Don Longbeard.
Hola.
Hola. How you doing, Don? You enjoying this
Yeah,
tonight?
doing good. Yes, I'm actually, yes, I want to hear more stories.
Yeah, me too. That's exciting.
You
I
just
love.
don't hear about them much.
I know that's the problem, and that's the problem I kept running into trying to research this myself. It was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
there's so much garbage out there, and there's so much other things out there, and it's like amazing. But, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're joined by our special guest, Mrs. Robyn Moonshadow, who is joining us here on the portal. Mrs. Robyn, welcome. I'm trying to get
Thank you.
the right scene up. Sorry, I'm clicking like, oops, wrong one.
Got the wrong button. Watch out.
I know, it's the story of my life. But welcome to the show. I hope you're enjoying yourself, too. You doing all right?
Oh yeah, I'm doing great.
Well, you're doing great, that's for sure, because you've got Don and I hanging right here. So
Yeah, we're on the edge of
We're
the
with
seat.
bated breath here waiting for the next thing you're going to tell us. But it's really exciting, really cool information. Can you differentiate for the listeners the difference between little people proto-pygmies and the fairies and the fae and all of that? Because
Well, when it,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, because that is not part of your research. You very specifically say, I don't do fairies and such. So I just wanted you'd have a chance to address that for the listeners.
Yeah, there are a lot of great people researching fairies, and you can find some really great groups online that cover everything from proto-pygmies and little people and the fairies. Well, when you say little people, it's kind of all bunched in with proto-pygmies and fairies.
Okay.
But with proto-pygmies, um, the name was coined by Ivan T. Sanders. And a proto-pygmy is a diminutive person who is from 1 to 3 feet tall.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, like Homo floresiensis,
Oh,
the
so-
Hobbit. Now
yeah.
her bones. I should say her. I always say him, but it was a her.
Okay.
Her bones were found on the island of Florence in Indonesia in 2003, and they're only 12,000 years old. So they were alive when we were here,
Right.
when there were still people running around.
Mhm.
Now, those guys are a perfect example of a proto-pygmy. Now, they're only a little over 3 feet tall,
Wow.
and the locals called them Ibu Gogo.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they were hairy, so it's not like the picture we see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. With the bald, just like us, except small and squat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now Ibu Gogo actually means grandmother glutton. And they became such a menace to the people because they were stealing children and eating them.
Wow.
So the locals drove them into a cave and burned them up.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They were still seen from time to time today.
Okay. Now, how do they differentiate from the orang pendek then, which is also in Indonesia on the Sumatra island especially? Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, what we do is we look at the footprints.
Okay.
With proto-pygmies, their feet look like ours, except they're small.
Okay.
And with the orang pendek, he has a dexterous toe, like an orangutan or an ape.
Oh, he does. Okay. I hadn't heard that. That's interesting. Okay. Huh. Well, yeah, because yeah, and I found it interesting as well because I know that a lot of in the Native American First Nations, they refer to many of these other beings as different tribes, and so they refer to them as another people. And the name like orangutan, the orangutan is literally translates to forest people, and orang pendek is little person. So
okay.
that's
Or a
very-
little person of the forest.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. My wife is Indonesian, so it's really cool to learn about that. And actually, she's not heard of any of these, which is funny. But I know that they're out there. I know that people are researching it pretty heavily. And in fact, I think Cliff Barrickman of Finding Bigfoot fame is invested pretty heavily into the Orang Pendek research going on over there in Indonesia. So hopefully they'll have something coming out of all of that with some kind of by way of proof. But the interesting thing is that new species are popping up all the time. They just discovered a new orangutan, a new kind of orangutan that they hadn't discovered before. So the idea of there being things left to discover is not out of the realm of possibility, which is something that the skeptics like to cling to. They like to think, well, that just isn't possible. Well, it is possible because we are discovering new things all of the time, and most of what we're discovering are just animalistic things. But what happens when you have something that isn't discovered but doesn't want to be discovered and it's intelligent? Then it's a whole different ball game. Does that make sense to you, Robyn?
That does, exactly. Especially when it comes to little people. They only let you see them if they want you to see them.
Right. Yeah.
Right. When the first settlers came over, they were shooting at them with guns because they considered them little demons, devils, or imps. And it's unfortunate, like the friendly little people that would have been more than glad to help settlers out were being fired on. They just said, we've had enough and we're going underground.
Yeah, it's a bad way to make an introduction.
Yeah. Definitely not a good idea.
I bet you they're not on the card list.
Dang, yeah.
No, I totally understand that. And so you had another story, and I kind of broke you up before the break, but you were talking about stories you had just heard about the Pukwudgie. So if you would continue.
Oh, yeah. And it's not a very old story, and it's 2016, 2017, and the husband and wife were just outside this forest, and they had a flat tire, and she got out so her husband could change it, and she was a little nervous as it was because it was after dark and it was a bit late, and she was saying, can you hurry it up? And all of a sudden she saw the little man walking down the road, right in the middle of the road.
Wow.
And like he didn't pay any attention to her at all at first. And they noticed each other, and he just stopped and glared at her. And so she walked backwards and says to her husband, you want to hurry that up? But look. And he saw it and changed the tire faster, and it really unnerved him. I mean, he didn't even put the wheel jack back in
He just left it on
he
the
just
road.
chucked it in the ditch. He said, get in the car, we're going.
Yeah.
Now, when they got into the car, the little guy wasn't on the road anymore. But they hurried on. And when they got home, she looked it up, and it was a Pukwudgie.
Wow. Now, what different types? I mean, Pukwudgies are great, but I mean, you said there was like 30 different. Would species be correct to say, or 30 different? I don't know. But what other Proto-Pygmies or small people do we have in the United States?
You have gnomes. There are a lot of gnomes, and I mean, leprechauns fall into the gnomes category. If you read their description, they're gnomes. Red caps, which are the anti-gnomes, because they look like gnomes, but they are nasty little buggers. There's a farmhouse in Pennsylvania that's apparently infested with them.
Wow.
Two different owners have complained about their pets going missing. Now, these owners didn't know each other. Their pets would go missing. The first owner had children, and she was somewhat threatened by them.
Wow.
These guys file their nails to a point. They have jagged teeth, but they look like gnomes. They don't wear a red cap, though. They're quite raggedy and dirty looking. The second owner of this farmhouse put in a fish pond, and they woke up one night because they heard laughing. And when he looked out the window, this little red cap, like I said, looks like a gnome, just dirty and nasty. He was stealing fish out of the fish pond and eating them raw. So the man yelled at him, "Get out of there!" And he could have swore this little red cap gave him the middle finger. Ran off.
Awesome.
And as
You're
funny
number
as
one.
that is, and almost impossible, I actually believe it because they are just nasty little buggers.
Wow. We have a chatter in YouTube chat. Pixie's asking what part of Pennsylvania, because Pixie's in Pennsylvania. So, but of course, Pix, if you do go looking, ask permission first. But what part of Pennsylvania is that?
I don't remember
Okay.
off the top of my head, Pixie, but I can get it to you.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
I know it's a very rural area,
Wow. Okay.
and I would love to hear from the third owner if they've had problems.
No
That's for
kidding.
sure.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, and so you've mentioned that stealing children, puck wedgies, is stolen children, and things like that. What about these red caps? Are there any reports of them stealing children? You mentioned animals, dogs, cats, things like that. But should somebody be worried about kids too?
Um, with these red caps, they haven't stolen any kids yet.
Okay.
They seem to like to terrify us.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Now, I haven't heard if they've actually physically attacked anybody, but it seems more intimidation tactics.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like will throw things at you. Like the one day in Mexico is another gnome, and it is a red cap.
Wow. Wow.
Now, how tall are these things? What size are these things?
Well, they're no bigger than an actual garden gnome. Not these guys behind me, because these guys are actually little, but they were about 2 feet tall.
2 feet tall.
Oh.
We've seen videos, of specifically in Mexico,
Oh, yeah.
of like kids playing like, kicking a ball around, and something just passes behind them or move from one corner to another. Or in another video, a little girl was playing in this like little, I don't know, like a little dead end and like behind a house or something, and she went to go pick up her ball or something, and something ran away from her. Would those fall under that? Well, of course they would, but they only looked like they were maybe a foot tall, in my perspective.
But with a lot of these videos, I don't believe.
Uh-huh.
But the one that I believe the most is these boys are racing, having a little race, and someone had a camera on.
Oh, and they went around like the fence?
Yeah, and it was jungly.
Yeah.
And you only see that little guy for a minute. That is one of the ones that I believe the most.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it looks more like we would see for a little person in that particular area.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
What about leprechauns in the United States?
They're a type of gnome, so yes.
Okay. So, where does the idea that if you find a rainbow, the end of a rainbow, and a pot of gold, where did that ever come from? Connected with the and there's a reason I ask with the leprechauns. Yeah.
Well, it goes back to very old stories of people capturing leprechauns.
Mm-hmm.
And making a wish, but no wish ever comes true because a leprechaun will trick you. They carry a pouch with a silver coin and a pouch with a gold coin.
Oh, I remember hearing something like that. Yeah. That's crazy.
And you got to keep your eye on them or they're gone in a shot. Like all these little people, even the goblins, they are fast.
Right.
They are just built that way naturally to be gone in a split second.
Wow. That's crazy. And the reason I ask is because one of the first things Brent and I ever did was we went to hear Cindy Goodbreak, and we'll probably talk about her later. But she was doing a kind of a meet and greet at one of the little coffee shops here in Idaho.
About Bigfoot.
About Bigfoot. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, about Bigfoot. And we were driving home, and we drove through the end of a rainbow. And it was just incredible. But we were looking for our pot of gold after that. I thought maybe they were more technology based and they just transferred into my bank account, but it never happened. So
yeah, we literally drove through a rainbow.
Yeah.
Like we saw it on the road, And Don was driving. I was in the passenger seat. I'm like, Don, check that out.
Oh, we're not going to drive.
It's
through
getting
that.
closer,
No,
and
we're
of
not
course,
gonna do that.
everybody understands the prismatic effect
Yeah.
of water and how it always just moves as you move with your relationship to the sun. But this just stayed there.
Yeah,
and it
actually-
got bigger and bigger in the road until we actually drove through it. And
I said we're not going to do it. It'll go away. Our perspective will change. But sure enough, it did not, and here we are.
yeah, and the nice thing is
Well,
that
yeah,
it didn't happen when
yeah,
I was alone.
what I tell people about leprechauns now is they can't leave the pots of gold out no more. They invested in Bitcoin.
Oh,
That cryptocurrency for the cryptos.
Cryptocurrency, yeah.
Nice.
Well played. I got to give you a
that
hand.
was awesome.
Clever.
Wow. Okay, so what other areas? I mean, because here we are in North Idaho, and we're in Sasquatch country up here. Would there be any chance of gnomes or a proto-pygmy being up in this area?
Oh yeah, there are some in Oregon.
Oh.
Absolutely. And like I said, they've been there for hundreds of years.
Wow.
There's a story that I think it's around the 1920s when they were starting to cut down trees, and they would hire people to come and clean up all the scrap wood.
Okay.
And it was his parents and a little boy, and he was just out playing by the creek one day, and he saw two little men with canes, and just walked right through, like it was waist deep for them, come to the other side of the creek of the little river he was playing, and look around and was disgusted and walked right back.
Huh.
And they were wearing purple garb.
Huh.
Wow.
And the little boy went and got his parents, and there were footprints, like little footprints. And his parents didn't want to go over and look and whatnot. I would have, but that's just me. Like, I've got a lot of questions for you guys with my paper and pen. And he believed as he got older that they were just disgusted with the amount of trees and clear cutting that was going on.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. That actually makes sense. Yeah.
Another story that comes from that area was it is very old, but the three brothers were hunting, and they had, I don't remember what they were hunting, but two went one way, one went another.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on horseback, and he saw the footprints walking side by side with a deer, and he came across the little man on a rock. And the little man had a bow and his arrows, and he was apparently hunting too. And they just kind of stared at each other for a few minutes. And this man wanted to bring him home. The little man, he wanted to bring him home like he was a pet.
Oh, yeah.
I decided against it. It wouldn't be a good idea, he says. So
Wow.
he did tell his brothers about this, and they said, yeah, it's a good idea. You left him alone.
Wow.
It's hilarious. Bring him home like a pet.
Wow.
There's a lot of stories that say, and this may dabble more into the paranormal, but if there are stories that if you go and say you go home with them, that you end up like in a fairy circle or in a cave and bewitched, and you lose all sense of time. What do you think would happen if you went home with them? I mean, depending on, of course, what kind they are.
Right. The story that come from Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
and there is one about a little boy being taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the man was just on his way hunting. He was on a snowmobile, and Alaska is very vast, and it has polar bears and then wolves, of course. And he found a little boy in the middle of nowhere, no tracks around him at all, except for the little boy's footprints where, he was just walking around. This little boy was confused.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew him from the village, and he took him home. And later on, we find out that the little boy had been kidnapped by the little people and taken into the mountain.
Oh.
The boy is like late teenage years now, and he's very traumatized by it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I do.
And he remembers, they fed him and whatnot. And there was a girl there, he said, that had been taken 50 years earlier or something like that.
Wow.
Wow. And
Now-
They were really shiny rocks because he was underground.
Right. Now, you said that had been taken 50 years prior. Was she still a girl, a little girl, or was she a woman at that point?
The story wasn't specific as to say if she was still a child or if she had, grown up.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
But he felt as if it had only been a couple hours since he'd been gone.
Really? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I remember hearing that story, and a lot of people. There's a few people in the chat room that said they remember that story, and Brent said he remembered it too.
I remember hearing
So,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, something about that sounds
That's
very
just
familiar.
crazy.
And
And a girl was kidnapped up there. Or, I want to say 10 years ago, but I don't think it was quite that long. And before she disappeared, her mother swears she saw a little person darting through the woods near her house. And this little girl never found.
oh no, that's so horrible. Wow.
I think it's awful.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
With a lot of these stories, it's allegory, but it could be true.
Right.
Like one story about smaller people that might be considered fairies because they're so little.
Uh-huh.
They were having a party and they had all the food, but they didn't have enough chairs. So they went around and they were collecting dog poop, frozen dog poop to use as chairs.
Like a log.
Like a log, like a bench. And the grandmother little person came in and said, "No way, get it out. Go get wood."
Wow.
Oh, that's funny.
Be cleansed, be clean.
That's like fairy IKEA.
How do you put this thing together?
It comes with that.
That's
Wow.
when the warm food comes.
When it warms up, it gets awful stinky.
And
Wow.
there's another story from Alaska about a man who had been gone for like a year, and to him it had only been a couple of hours.
Wow.
He was coming back and he had, the sled and whatnot, and he had some meat on the sled and some furs, and he had caught a peek inside a window that was in a rock.
Oh.
And there was a little people in there dancing around, and he watched them for a little while, and to him, again, it only seemed like it'd been a couple of hours that he watched them dancing around and playing. And then all of a sudden he noticed that the meat was rotten and it was just, the fur was no good and he had aged.
Huh.
So when he went back to the village, everybody was like, "Where have you been?"
Mm.
Been such and such a time.
Right. So
And again, it could be allegory for don't be peeking in people's windows.
Oh.
I hear a lot of that up there.
Oh, funny.
Right.
And the Hurricanes, which is another type of gnome in Alaska, they fish. They've been seen fishing with it like a fishing pole. They've been seen spear hunting.
Wow.
And as soon as people see them, they're gone. They dart off.
Huh.
It is just it's so fascinating to me, and I know that some people might just shrug their shoulders and go, "Are you serious?" But honest to God, I really think there's something profound to this, and that there's a reality to this, and I'm just fascinated by this completely because I mean in the paranormal, my thinking is like there seems to be so much that certain people will follow, and then after that point they're like, nope, that's where they put on the brakes. But it's like, if there can be a 12-foot, hairy man-like creature running through the woods, if that's possible, and it's very, very popular right now, people believing in Bigfoot and Sasquatch, and I do as well. But why couldn't there be a littler version of that running around as well?
Yeah.
I mean, why is that suddenly beyond the realm of
reasonable.
possibility?
And I believe in Sasquatch too. Like I've seen one when I was 13 years old.
Oh, cool.
And it even though I knew what it was, it scared me.
Yeah.
But we had that few minutes of amazement.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to hurt me. He didn't want to do anything to me. Like I scared myself.
Sure. Yeah. And that's
That
90.
I can tell you, I never ran so fast in my life back in the house.
You know, hey,
Yeah.
do you by any chance remember any smell associated with him or any?
No, he didn't smell.
Okay.
Mm.
He didn't smell.
So
He
he-
didn't smell at all. But I always knew afterwards that he had been probably watching me play in the woods for hours.
Yeah,
Right.
or for a longer time than that, different days,
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. And if he wanted to hurt me, he would have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to take our hour break here, ladies and gentlemen, so don't go away.
This is
This
awesome.
keeps getting more and more interesting as we go, so stand by. We'll be right back after these messages for more of The Portal.
Wow.
Everybody likes to play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me, and their lies keep falling apart. But I'm not talking yet. I'm not talking yet. I'm not talking yet. I am finished with my silence. I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness. Just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise. You're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity. Just make sure that you're well fed. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet.
This looks extraordinarily bad.
They linger in a perpetual dream state, a nightmare from which they cannot wake. I've never sensed anything like it. look like those she's with. They're attracted to one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are live and unscripted here on this fine Friday evening.
No other way to have it.
No other way to have it. And having a marvelous time and a great discussion, lots of new information, lots of interesting facts and tips and tidbits and explanations for a lot of... there's so much to cover with this topic. It's just amazing. But we are doing as well as we know how to, and of course we are joined tonight by our special guest, Mrs. Robyn Moonshadow. So thank you so much again, Robyn, for being here. How you doing?
I'm still doing good.
Well, good. Awesome. Then we're doing all right then.
Yeah, it's just been so awesome so far. The stories and the information. I need to hear more, Robyn. I need more.
we do it.
I could talk to people 24/7.
Well,
and there's still more that I'm learning.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's just the thing, and it's certainly an interesting topic to learn about and to cover. But what I find really interesting is that,
Look at your screen.
What's my screen? What's wrong?
Oh, that's weird. It keeps popping in and out of the logo.
Where?
Right there where Robyn's appearing.
Oh. Well, that's
weird.
Sometimes Skype does that. It'll like trigger the logo or the person, weird, depending on what sound's coming through.
Okay. Whatever.
There might have been something coming back from the station feed, but it's still her. We haven't lost her. We're not getting rid of her.
Absolutely not. Stay.
I forgot what. People haven't taken me yet.
I think it's all the little ones that you have around you. Maybe the 5 plus the 4 sitting behind you.
Yeah.
It's a whole party over at Robyn's house, and we're invited tonight.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. So happy.
Okay,
so
and there's
happy.
more outside.
Oh, is that right? You got your own habitat over there. That's fantastic.
I got a gnome farm going on.
Ah, cool.
So what location are you, Robyn? You're up in Canada, is that right?
I am. I'm in the province of Ontario, Canada.
Okay. And you have, how many did you say are known to be up in Canada as far as these little people varieties?
6 of them.
6 of them. How come there's so many more down here?
Probably because it's warmer.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
gotcha.
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense. No, I think there was some story up in Alaska area or in the Arctic area of the Inuit knowing of a race of these little people that look like miniature Inuits, that they have kayaks and furs and really live a very mirrored existence to what the Inuit themselves live. Is that correct?
That is correct. That would be a gnome type, but they do look like little Inuits. That's the Uricans.
Uricans. Okay.
Right. 4 different types up there. There is a fairy type. There is a taller type that is really strange looking, kind of a combination of different things. So it's not a little person as per se, but it still goes into that myth.
Wow.
Now, you said fairy type, and where's the differentiation between what is not a fairy type and what is a fairy type? I'm interested to hear.
Okay, with the sorry, anything under a foot would be a fairy type.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, okay, perfect. So it has to do everything with scale at that point then.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so now are these mini Inuits? Those are a benevolent race, correct? That's
Yes.
the Urikins, you said, yeah?
Yeah. They do help. Sorry. They do help hunters when they're lost. If they take kids, but they will bring them back. They'll feed them and bring them back.
Oh.
They fish, they hunt, and further up where there are less people around, the locals do trade with them.
Oh, wow.
And they were at one time a part of the Inuit society.
Huh.
There are really old stories of, one particular one, and it's kind of a sad one, where they were coming down to trade with a particular village. And one of these little people's little boy got too close to a dog, and the dog killed him.
Oh.
So they just moved out and didn't come back.
You know, I heard that story too.
I think you heard
Wow.
a similar story, and I'll go into what that was
Okay,
in just
okay.
a second. But what the story that Don's referring to is one that we covered on the show. Again, it was reported, but basically these guys were working on this construction site, and they were sitting having a break, and there was like a grassy field next to where they were, and there was this what they assumed were feral dogs just out in this field, kind of just lounging around, not being a nuisance per se, but suddenly this helmeted little person came through the fence and started running around like it was challenging the dogs or something. And apparently this thing was running step for step, outrunning or just staying just ahead of these dogs. They were unable to catch him, and he ran around, and these guys were watching, and they were really rooting for the little guy because these dogs, of course, were hungry, and he looked like food. So they chased him, and they kept thinking, why doesn't he just go back to the fence where he came in and dive through? And then suddenly the little person makes a turn and makes a beeline for that fence to dive through where he came in, and he misjudged it and hit the fence, and then the dogs proceed to tear him up.
Huh.
Is that what you're talking
Oh,
about,
that's
Don?
awful.
That is awful. It's a horrible story, but I have to wonder, why would it run out there in the first place? What the hell was he thinking? But is that what you were thinking of, Don?
Yeah, it must be because
Okay.
that's yeah, it must be. But
Okay.
it's just crazy. All these, and it's there's centuries of stories apparently of all of these different types living peacefully together, and then there's always just that one thing that just always it's the last straw, or it is the straw, whatever that may be.
Uh-huh.
But it's just crazy. It's craziness.
It is, but I mean, look at our history
Yeah, well,
as
yeah.
as a modern age. I mean, we steamrolled over everything. It was just our ancestors were not kind. They were not gentle. They had no interest in finding balance. It was all about conquest.
I wonder how much of that was because of their particular, belief system, whether it be Christianity or whatever.
Well, probably. I mean, there's certainly plenty of people, and this is my hypothesis, and Robyn, you can certainly weigh on this as well. But I think that, and I'm not, please don't ever think I'm bad-mouthing a religion, but essentially there's a real common theme in Christianity that the world was given, and people were given dominion over it to multiply and be fruitful and to use whatever the hell you need. And so they take this license with, they have no problem. And I guess it's human nature more than anything, but they find a rationale in the Christianity that it's okay because God gave us the earth and we can just do whatever we want. I'm not anti-Christian. Let me just say that right out front. But it certainly is. I've known many charismatic Christians who, they have no problem with, cutting, slashing, doing whatever, as long as it suits their need. Right. And the justification is the good book, So I don't know, Robyn, what is your take on that? Sorry.
It's ignorance.
Right.
It really is ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with Native American and First Nations people, we believe in living in harmony. Mammals are our brothers and sisters, and if we need to kill them to eat, it's because they allow us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very symbolic, but we don't do the heavy duty. We have dominion over everything, therefore we have the right to kill and maim and make fun of things that are different or be afraid. It's better to be a little open-minded.
Yeah, exactly. And I would agree. But I think that that I certainly don't mean to mischaracterize most Christians, but there are certainly those groups that are
Yes.
types of people that believe this. Now, I've known many wonderful Christian people, and I was raised Christian, so I guess I am in some respects a Christian, but I tend to have more of a Bruce Lee approach to spirituality.
Yeah.
It's just that I find what works for me and I just apply it. So I've got all kinds of different things rolling around in this head of mine. So, but that is what it is. So, but now, what other recent accounts have you heard about? What if you were to characterize one of these groups of little people as the most benevolent or the most beneficial, which group would that be?
It would be the Cherokee little people.
Okay. And
they like people. It's just that because of what's been done to them, and they actually said that we're going underground because we don't like things going on now.
Oh. Is that where they live primarily in your understanding? I mean, is that where your
in
research
North
leads you?
Carolina.
Okay.
I don't know if you're able to show that picture.
I gotta figure out a way to get it off of Skype. I don't like this new Skype at all. It's there somewhere.
That was taken by a friend of mine, Dwight Campbell of Dirty South Squatchin.
Okay.
And he put the morning that I'm not a morning person,
Mm-hmm.
but the morning that he put that up, I mean, he didn't even have to put a circle around it. I saw him, this little guy.
Okay.
The picture is he's dressed in what appears to be bear fur, and he has war paint on that's white. And he's quite clear to see. He has a flat nose. You can see his eyes. And it's not like a blob because you can even see his feet.
Wow. Okay.
So a full-on picture. Wow.
I'm gonna see.
Oh, yeah. Like he's in the bushes, but you can see him, especially his face.
Okay.
Wow.
And it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna try to
Dwight
get this.
says that he's, had the idea he was being followed around, and he just turned around and took that picture. And I said, because he let you, he wanted to know that he was there.
Wow. That's just amazing. That it just amazing.
Okay. Is that the first picture that you sent me, by the way?
With the big red circle?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just saving it to the desktop now. I figured out how.
Nice.
There's 3 pictures that we have here.
Oh,
So
that's a great picture.
yeah, don't give it away, Don.
I didn't give it away. I said it was a great picture.
Shh, it's a surprise.
Uh-oh. Sorry.
Oh, shoot, I was gonna try to right click it, but now it's all screwed up. I hate Skype. I really do. Let me get back to this, and
Wow.
at least I got 2 of them. I'll get the last one during the last break, and we can show that. But yeah, look at that. It keeps resetting everything. Arrgh, it makes me angry. All right, let me see if I can pull up that picture, Robyn, and we'll let you discuss this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't care if it's responding. I didn't want it up. I got my computer telling me all kinds of weird stuff tonight. It's the nature of the business. Okay, here we go.
So, Robyn, while we're doing this, he's got it. There it is.
It's up.
Okay, there we go.
So let me switch over to the scene 3. I'll have to put it up in the TFR room as well, but I'm going to go to full screen on this. So there's the picture, and yeah, I would agree that's really there. Now, do you find that they are pretty well camouflaged in situations like this? Like, this looks like it has a green tint to the skin.
Yes, they camouflage themselves really well.
Okay.
They know more about camo than anybody, I believe, because they've been doing it for so long. They can blend in.
Uh-huh.
Like, you might look at them and never see them, but they see you.
Okay. Yeah, it's very distinctive in this picture. I have to agree.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
see the white on his nose because he's blending in with the background,
right. Yeah.
and the fur that's there appears to be bear fur.
Okay. I don't recognize any fur here, but I do see the face really clearly.
The hat. He's wearing like a hat
Oh, okay, gotcha.
or
Yeah.
a bonnet.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, you can see his eyes, his nose. You can even see his mouth.
Right. Yeah, and it looks like he's
No.
using several
Oh,
different
yeah.
tones. Like here's the nose. I'm using my cursor so the people in YouTube will be able to see this, and I'll upload it to the TFR chat room, or I'll send it to you, Don. Let me send it to you through.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. I'm ready.
This would be one of the dogwood people, which would be a like I said, for lack of a better word, a proto-Indian. So underneath all this makeup, he looks like a little native.
Right. Yeah, he really does. And the use of camouflage is what's
That's
very interesting
brilliant.
to me.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Right.
Like you can see his face. Like I said, when I saw it, he didn't even need to draw the circle around it. I was like, wow.
I see it.
And
Oh, there
so
it is.
far, this is the best picture that I've ever seen.
Right. Well,
Like
yeah.
I woke right up. I didn't even need coffee that morning. I was just awake.
What would this one be considered then? What race of beings would this be?
He would be the proto-Indian.
Okay.
The proto.
He's a little native. Yeah, he's a little native.
Okay, gotcha.
Wow.
I'm gonna send on the second one.
He would be his tribe because there are 3 of them. He is one of the dogwood people.
Okay.
Okay.
And these are benevolent little people who help people.
Uh-huh.
Now, where was this picture taken at again?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
All
Okay.
I can tell you, it was near the Cherokee Reservation.
Okay. Well, that would make sense. Yeah.
Okay.
So the
Yes.
dogwood people. Okay. Excellent.
Perfect. All
Now,
right.
here's what's really interesting. This is a known Squatch area.
Okay.
Little people
Mhm.
are in Squatch areas, but they are not in Dogman areas.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so one
Could be
crosses over.
Dogmen eat them.
Right.
Dogmen eat pretty much anything, I think.
Well, we might be able to ask that question later.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be having Linda Godfrey on at the end of the month,
Definitely.
so that'll be a great question to ask, as far as the correlation between the dogman and the little people. That's very interesting. But so apparently they live peacefully with Bigfoot.
Yes, they seem to get along very well, or at least they have some sort of arrangement,
Mhm.
Okay.
or they don't bother with each other because, well, we know Bigfoot can get aggressive from time to time, but overall, it's they kind of stay clear of us, much like the little people.
Right. Yeah. You leave us alone, we'll leave you alone, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And Sasquatch are on the ground, and these guys live underground.
Right. Isn't it the Cherokee or the Navajo that have the ant people mythos? Which one was that?
It's the Hopi.
Hopi.
The hot.
The
Okay. Okay.
people,
Okay. So yeah.
which would
okay.
be really tiny people
Okay.
that also live underground, and they fight with actual ants with spears and
Okay.
tomahawks and
Oh, okay. That's very that's very interesting.
those
That'd be
tiny ones. Yeah.
that'd suck to have to do battle with ants. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
The mythos with that is that there was a flood, and the ant people helped save the Hopi by
Right,
taking them
right.
underground or something.
Right.
How weird, a flood. Did it last for 40 days by any chance?
It might have. It might have.
I do believe that all of that is connected. All those mythoses are connected to some kind of great deluge, but well, that's not a conversation for this particular episode. But hey, what? So what do you have up there? You said in Canada there are 6 different species, tribes. What do you folks have up there?
We have some Pukwudgies. We have Nomaki, which
Okay.
I seen when I was about 9 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we have the Gnomes, and we also have some native little people, especially in Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine, they like to play with him. They'll run into his back door,
Wow.
and
Wow.
pretty sure that it's a boy and a girl because the way they mess around. So they run into his back door and they mess around in the kitchen. And as soon as he gets up to tell them to knock it off, they're out the door.
It's knocked off.
It's like
We're
a
done.
weekly thing.
Wow. That's actually kind of cool.
And that's
in a manner of
also on
speaking.
reservation.
Mhm.
And he's a Micmac,
Micmac,
and that's on a
okay.
reservation.
Okay. Wow.
That-
And so what other kind do you have up there?
Let me see. There are, like I said, the gnome type,
Mhm.
and we might have a couple of red caps. I'm looking into it. I mean, they could have just, pissed off a gnome, which is never good because they have bad temper.
Yeah, it seems they do.
Well, now speaking of that, what about the goblin or the orc type?
Yeah.
Where are those at? Are those over in the UK and Britain?
Oh, but we don't have no trolls here that I know of.
Okay.
But America has trolls, and and we're talking about small trolls, not like the big trolls
Right.
Okay.
like they have in Scandinavia and whatnot. But these little trolls are trolls do steal kids and eat them.
Oh.
They do live under bridges or old houses. They are habitual hoarders of anything, especially if it's shiny, of course.
Right.
And they look different from a puckwudgie because trolls have larger ears, their face is round and smooshy, and a troll.
Huh.
Like if you've ever seen that gnome cartoon, that is what they look like. And they come in a variety of colors.
Wow.
Again, natural camouflage for them.
So they really look like those little trolls? Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
They really look like those little trolls?
Yeah, it's not the troll dolls.
Okay.
But if you've ever seen that cartoon or the book that's called Gnomes, they actually look like that. They're quite filthy and they stink.
Ah.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
That is really wild.
I have a report of one killing a cat and eating it.
Somebody observed
Terrified. I think that was in Michigan.
Wow.
This was observed?
Yeah.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, she just let her cat out to go to the bathroom, and this was in the fall, and this was in 2002.
Wow.
Jeez.
And it just came right out of the bushes, grabbed the cat, and not to get too graphic, but broke the cat's neck and drug it off, and she's pretty sure he ate it.
Oh, horrible.
Well, that's nature.
Yeah.
Circle of life kind of stuff. That is just wild. Okay, so trolls, gnomes, we've talked about red caps. What else is there?
Oh my goodness. Oh. Let me see.
Just keep going, because the other day when you were telling me, it's like, well, there's 30 here and 60 over there, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they're categorized.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the goblins are actually seen a lot, and they're like grayish black, like black imps.
Mm-hmm.
Imps are I consider them goblins because they look so much the same.
Mm-hmm.
Mount Shasta has black imps. And you don't mess with them. And on the other side of the mountain, you have the gnomes, which are friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And they're, again, said to help lost people.
Wow.
Just depends on which side of the mountain you're on, huh?
Yes, because you don't mess with the black imps because you disappear.
Oh, God. Jeez. I wonder if some of this is what happened with those missing 411 cases.
Yeah.
David Paulides, because have you heard of those David Paulides' research? Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually looked into them, and I understand that there's all kinds of reasons, like natural reason people go missing because hypothermia makes you do some odd things.
Sure.
And then there are some that make absolutely no sense whatsoever, like you're there one second, gone the next.
Right.
Wow.
So if they are being taken by like little people, it's probably maybe 1-2%.
Okay.
Especially when you're dealing with kids, because little people love kids.
Yeah. Either to play with or to eat, apparently. Wow.
Oh, either or. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the creepy part. It's just got such a wide spectrum of what kind of encounter you could have, and it just it seems like it would be the roll of the dice. Which one you'd bump into. Wow.
They seem to be territorial. because where we would find like the benevolent ones,
Mm-hmm.
we don't find the benevolent ones, and vice versa.
Oh, okay.
Right.
There was a war in the Ozarks between good little people and bad people.
Uh-huh.
And this was told to a fellow researcher who is no longer with us, unfortunately.
Oh.
The good ones, which is sorry, the name escapes me. I'll come back to it. But the good ones drove the bad ones out.
Oh, they did. Okay. Well, that's good that the good guys won.
Yeah, and that was like up in the Ozarks.
Wow.
Okay, well, we're going to go to our last break of the night already. It just flies here on the portal, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll be right back in just a couple minutes with the last segment with Robyn tonight. And don't go away.
No, don't.
Even if little people grab you.
Wow.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last half hour of the show. Hope you're enjoying the show. I think that it's been an incredibly interesting night. Apparently, there's some people have messaged that they're a little uptight, and I'm not sure what happened or what they feel was said that would be offensive. But apparently, there's some people that have, of course, First Nation blood as well, and feel that somehow this has been misrepresented. So I'd just like to apologize. That certainly is never the desire nor wish of this show or any of our guests to make anybody feel offended or hurt. And we certainly welcome you to share what it is you feel is being misrepresented. And you can do that either by calling in or simply emailing me. But I don't know that anything was said that should be offensive. But again, I don't want to discount anybody's feelings either. So if there's anybody out there that wants to explain to me what has happened, I would love to hear and would love a chance to at least address it, because that's never the goal of this show. This is all about talking about phenomena and occurrences and reported occurrences. We aren't representing any certain people or discounting any people as well. It's just a phenomena. So, ladies and gentlemen, if something has been said that you're uncomfortable with, I would love at least a chance to defend that or address it, because I think it's important to have a dialogue. So I don't know what that's all about, but anyway, Robyn, welcome back to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Yes, please tell me. I'm a Métis First Nation myself. So if something has been said that is offensive, please let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're unmuted, Don.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay.
Not all the people are bad, of course.
Right. No, absolutely. And I don't think that's been claimed either. I'm not sure what the reference was. I'll have to rewatch the feed tomorrow and see what's going on in the chat room. Unfortunately, I can't keep an eye on that one. I got so many things going on. But yeah, we certainly want the ability to have a dialogue if somebody is feeling upset about something. It's never the intention, and it's certainly I haven't heard anything tonight that I would feel was offensive. But again, I'm not discounting your feelings either. So. But let's continue.
Absolutely. Yes, because I would never say something offensive to hurt my brothers and sisters.
Right, exactly. No, I appreciate that, Robyn, and thank you. And if I find out, I'll be sure to let you know. I don't know what was going on. But anyway, we are discussing little people and proto-pygmies tonight here on the portal, and we're having I think, a phenomenal discussion, and I'm learning a ton. This is a field that I've absolutely.
Shall we say it's been elusive?
It's it's so interesting though, because I think everybody's heard the general. There's gnomes and there's elves and there's fairies, but to hear the biodiversity that's being reported and being claimed in all these disparate regions is absolutely incredible. Now, do you believe that they perhaps migrated as well as along with everybody else, or do you think that they just developed on their own in those places? Did they travel on ships? Did they, you know what I mean? Did they have any legends of them coming across the land bridge in the Bering Strait or anything like that?
With a lot of the old stories, they were here when my ancestors arrived.
Sure. Yeah.
They were already here.
Right.
And then we have sightings of gnomes on boats.
Oh,
really?
With the Europeans. Like some of the shipwrecks, little people were spotted and they were gnomes.
Oh, wow.
Which, of course, in Scandinavia and Greenland, they're called tomties or nissies. And we call them gnomes, of course.
Okay.
Weird.
So, yes, we have both.
Okay. Now, that brings up an interesting point. I know that Iceland, of course, really embraces this in their culture. And it, in fact, even as far as how they develop their land and how they do projects, they consult some intermediary that will act as a contact between the gnomes and the people, and to come to some kind of agreement, which I think is incredibly cool. I think it's really a holistic approach to it, to acknowledge that there could be something more. But I'm wondering, are as you understand it, are the Icelandic gnomes or little people, are they visible, or are they more spiritual, or how does that work?
There are two types. There are the elf types that come in very short or small and up to 6 feet.
Okay. Wow.
And then there are the hidden people.
Oh.
So hidden people and elves are not the same.
Okay. But are they physical, or are they kind of...
The hidden people are more of a spiritual.
Okay. Okay.
But with the gnomes, they are physical.
Oh, they are. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
There was a sighting of an elf in a park in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
A little boy had wandered off from his parents to look at the trees and nature and stuff, and he came upon a little boy playing a flute who had pointed ears, big green eyes, and apparently, from the description, he was quite beautiful. And he asked the little boy if he wanted to play. And the little boy said he couldn't because he had to get back to his parents.
Oh, okay.
And when the boy got older, he left apple slices for him. And then when he went back, he found a really shiny rock for him there.
Very cool. That's neat.
Even his voice was odd, he said.
Now,
so with that description and with what I've read about the elves in Iceland and whatnot, it matches up pretty good. So yes, it is quite possible that there are elves here as well.
Okay. Wow. And now, are elves, to me, just, of course, Lord of the Rings comes to mind, right? Legolas and all of that, but then again, so do Keebler.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
So there's such a variety there just in elves alone, that would seem to be part of the Fae, and yet, bigger as well. I don't know. Are they the same thing then? Between the little and the big, or is there a big? Is that a whole different branch with a whole lot of different shelves on it, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think the elves are a different branch.
Okay.
Because they're a little bit, well, how to put this? They're more like us in their appearance.
Okay.
And then again, they're not, because they're very pale skin, very angelic looking.
Okay. So that would tie in with a lot of the legendary stories then, of them being these with angelic sing-song kind of voices and perfect skin and flawless features and
flowing hair.
Do the pointed ears, are those as well part of the stories?
Yeah, I have pointed ears.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Robyn, we have someone in the chat room asking again what particular First Nations people do you ascribe to? I mean, not
what tribe do you belong to?
What tribe do you belong to? Okay, fine.
I'm a Métis, Metis.
Okay.
And is that up in Canada? Is that a Canadian tribe?
That is Canada, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not familiar with that one. That's cool, though. I love learning new things.
There you go. Okay. Well, but it's just typical American, though. I mean, we weren't taught about anything other than what was in the land that we inhabited. So I find it not surprising at all that we don't know much about the First Nation of Canada. So, you mentioned gnomes on boats. And somebody said something in the chat room a while ago about watch out for the gnomes on planes. But that, of course, brings to picture gremlins, this classic, flying gremlins. How about that? What's the veracity on that?
Well, it turns out when it comes to Legend of the Gremlins that they were, in fact, little monkeys.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What? Really?
Getting into machinery and things like that, yes.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
And there
that's
was a
crazy.
word confusion at that time, and they just little people, monkeys and gremlins, and
Okay.
getting
Because
into people's planes and whatnot. Because I'm sure pilots carried sandwiches and fruit on the plane
oh
with
yeah,
them.
yeah. That's a good point. And that's something else that Brent and I have talked about a lot too, is regarding Sasquatch in particular, is coming up with that common vocabulary. Because it's Bigfoot, it's skunk ape, it's boogers, wood boogers, it's Sasquatch, it's all these different names, and then all of a sudden somebody put it all together, or it all came together, and it became a common language. So when you say Bigfoot, you know that includes Sasquatch, boogers, and wood apes, and all this kind of thing. So I mean, you said there was a mix up in the language, and so it doesn't surprise me that there's disparages between even within just an area of one thing being called one thing, and the same thing being called something different. Totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it's like a unifying terminology
right.
because before that, before there was that unifying term, there was all these regional phenomena where people had wild men, they had boogers,
Right,
they
yeah.
had, skunk ape, they had grassman, they had momo, and it's like once that Bigfoot term really took hold, people were able to go, wait, we got that here. We call it blah.
Right, yeah,
So it
exactly.
took that unifying terminology in order to make it, a holistic idea. In my opinion, I certainly believe that, but I often wonder that if the same thing could be said about like ogres, that
Yeah.
that would be another definition for what we understand as Bigfoot. These big, hairy, strong, incredibly strong creatures that didn't like people much.
I
So,
like how you just kind of people much.
well, I was
Yes,
just
it's a bit
starting to
of a
laugh. It's
laugh.
like, yeah,
Well, yeah,
you
no,
know.
yeah. So what about across the pond in the UK, in Britain, and things like that? What do they have over there?
They have gnomes, and of course, they have the fairies. They have gnomes. They have trolls,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a bit of a problem with the trolls in the city. And again, taking animals.
Right.
And one report, one of these trolls reached through the woman's window and opened a bird cage and took a bird.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's bold.
It
Yeah,
took her. It was a budgie. I
A
believe it was a
budgie.
budgie.
Yeah.
the
Huh.
bird is
The,
that a bird?
yeah, it's a bird.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
budgie. It opened the cage, and she said that she couldn't do anything about it because she just kind of frozen. She was in shock.
Right, right.
And that was in sorry, Saltkirk.
Huh.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow. Interesting.
And I said they have gnomes, yes, and um, they run about and people see them, and people aren't really going to say a lot, but of course I hear stuff.
Right. And I would imagine a lot of the legends that we have come from over there as well. What kind of more famous ones or more well reported do you know of?
Let's see the Pukwudgies, and then of course the Narumbi in Montana.
Okay.
Narumbi. Okay.
Fantastic little people that they are. They love the Crow people.
They love to what?
They love the Crow people.
The Crow
And
people.
only
the
the
Crow
Crow
people.
people. If
Okay.
you go into a spot that they are living in, you must ask permission to go there.
Huh.
Ah. So
They impart spiritual wisdom
wow.
on young people, and the Crow people are very protective of their little people.
Right.
Mhm.
Even I had a hard time getting the information that I got.
Wow.
Yeah, I bet. And that's the
And
case in a
I
lot of.
wasn't going to push it because the little people are special.
Right.
Absolutely, and that's certainly a common theme with many researchers trying to get that information from the First Nation tribes are very, like you said, they hold things very sacred, and to have somebody on the outside coming in and asking questions, I think it's because it is sacred, right? Would that be a good
Yeah.
definition?
Yes.
And that's wonderful.
And the Crow people have looked after, the little people have looked after the Crow people in the past. When an invading army would come in, they would fight alongside the Crow people. This is one of their more famous stories.
Wow.
Now, the Narumbi are one of my favorite because they are so intelligent and so tactful.
Wow.
Okay, we do have a call on the board here. This will be Mr. Naysay in Minnesota.
Go figure, it's him.
Yeah, you got me up again, but it's a wonderful, fabulous program. Thank you so much. Real quickly for your guest, being of Anishinaabe descent, we have stories about the little people in the woods. And like you guys were discussing, the semantics of it, where we get caught up on what we want to label something instead of finding the similarities of everything. But in the reference of today's society and how the powers that should not be utilizes the entertainment corporations in order to give us little hints of these types of things. In the movie Star Wars, where they talk about with Jar Jar Binks and how the humanoids were living there, and there are these other entities that have intelligence.
Right.
And because of the poor relationships between us silly humans and most of the other entities of this world, we have lost these other, I believe, we have lost these other entities' confidence to be in balance with things. And this is why there is still the speaking of this with the indigenous peoples, because we remember those connections. And we did, in a sense, for lack of a better term, have treaties with other entities of intelligence. And so it's fascinating. And I, too, as a indigenous person, descendant, have not heard anything where I have found it offensive. And thank you very much for the guest and your comment, please.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I agree, where we've just come out of balance, where we're no longer living in harmony. Like, many of us do our best to do that. And then, like I said, it's human ignorance, and it's not meant to be mean. It's just people don't pay attention to what is around them, only what's in front of them.
Right.
And it's not their fault. This is how the world has, it's gone in that direction. And we're missing out on so much of the wonderful things that are around us.
Well, if I may be so bold to ask, too, that there is, I believe, again, a purpose behind the iPhone and getting us so conditioned to have our face in the phone, because at this pivotal point that we're at in the universe, like Chris and Cherie talk about the veil shifting, the consciousness is shifting, and if we don't start paying attention, we're going to get caught with our pants down. And hopefully at some point, all of the entities that are still here on Mother Earth, if we could collectively get back together, it would be a much quicker pace to get things right again than to keep on doing things wrong. And thank you very much. I'll let you guys go. Have a great rest of the show.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thanks for calling in, brother. Take care.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. It's always good to hear. And he's always got some really good point to add to the mix. So it's always a pleasure when Mr. Naysay calls. But yeah, he brings up a really good point. And I think you're absolutely right, Robyn, about the balance. And we don't live gently with nature. And I suppose that could be a real strong reason why there's such a rift between us and some of these other beings that may very well inhabit our world and live around us, but choose our absence because we've just lost our way as far as finding harmony.
Right.
Yes, it's somewhere along the lines of most of humanity has, like I said, lost touch, where we're wearing blinders.
Right.
and we only see what's in front of us and not around us.
Right. Well, that's like
Because
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it would be fantastic. It would be wonderful and fantastic if everybody could see what they don't see.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether it be little Bigfoot or little people or Bigfoot just walking in the woods and there he is, and it would be commonplace, like seeing a bear.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Well, that's like I told a story in chat just the other day about when I was driving to work the other day, and I was coming off my road, and there's this field off to the right as I'm coming in, facing the mountain, and it's just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I look over, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this doe, and a little fawn, and it had to be fresh, like within like 30 minutes, because he wasn't walking; he was standing up, and my point to this is, you're right, and we need to slow down and re-figure out, what's going on around us, because I wanted to stop and take pictures, but the speed of my life said you cannot do that. And it was just the most incredible thing, because if because we have coyotes all around out here, I see them all the time. And if a fawn cannot walk within the first hour of its life, it's usually dead, because it either gets caught or it dies because of something. But it's just amazing how I saw that out of the corner of my eye, and I realized that once again, you've got to stop and smell the roses,
Yeah. I mean, as corny as that saying is, it's really true.
It's really true.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's the world is full of so many beautiful things, and a lot of people are missing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why, I love doing this show, is because I get an opportunity to talk to so many amazing people, and yourself included. I mean, like I said, I've tried to research this subject so many times. Other than finding a handful of encounter stories and a whole bunch of disparate history, I just wasn't real successful with it. So it's neat to have an opportunity to talk to you. But before we're done, Rob, we got about 3 minutes left of the show. How can people keep in touch and follow what you're doing?
I have a blog, and it's strangerealms.net, and I have something up there every month.
Okay.
Because I do other cryptozoology work as well.
Yes, you do. That's true.
And I have a group. It's on Facebook. It's Strange Realms.
Yep.
Yeah,
and you can come and post things that aren't too crazy, but scientifically based.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want like blob squatches and things like that up there, no matter how entertaining it is. And you're welcome to come and join. We're a very laid back and good group.
Right. You know what? I've been quite impressed with that particular one. There's a lot of information on Strange Realms, the Facebook page, and I've been kind of combing through it, and it's just been excellent, full of information.
It's got some great contributors as well. I mean, there's a lot of people from a lot of different fields. Posting in there and sharing information, and that's what I think is making it cool. And it's growing really fast. I mean, I see about every hour there's about, hey, let's welcome our new member.
Yeah.
It's like 5 of them in there. It's like, wow, it's really, really taken off. So you've done a good job with that. And of course, thank you for allowing us into there. And
absolutely.
And of course, thank you for being on the show tonight. That has just been
absolutely.
And we will definitely have to get you back to continue not only this discussion, but let's find out a little more about some of your other areas of interest and expertise as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, please tune in with us tomorrow night. We'll have Mr. Brooks Agnew.
That's right.
Brooks Agnew.
That's right.
My tongue has just got fat all of a sudden. Brooks Agnew will be joining us again. A very impressive, incredible person, fellow TFR host, and he will be here to discuss the science of the paranormal, and essentially, he's a real amazing source for taking all of these weird phenomena and giving them a logic that makes them so much easier to digest. So don't miss that show. You're going to be just absolutely amazed. He's just an amazing guy, he'll be on tomorrow night. And again, next weekend, the Bear will be here on the portal. So email your questions for the Bear. If you have something you want to ask him, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And if you have other things is that thunder?
Yeah, because I thought
Thunder.
I saw lightning through the window here. I was like, what was that? Yeah, we
All
got
right.
thunder.
All right, so it's a good sign. It's a good time to shut her down tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Love you all very much. Be good, be kind, be nice, and we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, and hopefully a whole different show. So love you all dearly. Be good, be kind, be nice, and we'll see you tomorrow night.